Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Yuna and today you have surely already read the title of the video. We are doing another monthly TBR soft hopeful lists for August.
Hi everyone, so I'm just popping in before the actual video starts. Hi baby. Thank you. What a sweet girl. Thank you. So I'm popping in with Miss Lucy before the video starts because this is one of the videos that I had pre-recorded. I'd filmed before Sweet Lucy girl had her stroke almost a week ago now. If you haven't seen, I made like a little disclaimer intro for the Solomon vlog and I've posted about it in a bunch of different places, but if you haven't seen any of those, my sweet baby Lucy had a major stroke last Thursday. And she is, she's making small improvements, but she is definitely dealing with the after effects. She has pretty limited mobility still. Immediately after, she couldn't do much of anything. She could only lift and turn her head. And she still can't stand. She still has trouble even just like sitting up. She definitely can't walk yet, but she has been making little improvements. I've been seeing her try to use her legs and want to move. She's being such a trooper. She is such a fighter. She says, 17 years young, bitch, you're not getting rid of me yet. She is just trying so hard to get better and I'm so grateful. So the real disclaimer is that I filmed this video before all of this happened and obviously a lot has changed because Lucy currently needs basically 24/7 round-the-clock care. Reading, editing, filming, all of that is taking a back seat for the next few weeks. But in terms of this video and the channel, before Lucy had her stroke, I had a couple videos that I had already filmed, including this TBR video. And so I still wanted to edit it and put it out because I already have all the footage and actually I'd started editing this already. But I did want to give the disclaimer that there's a bunch of things I talk about in this video or books I talk about that I probably won't end up getting to. I'm not reading that much right now and finding time to film and edit all of that on top of everything is really hard. It's just not the main priority. Obviously, she is my priority right now. In this video, I talk about like 15 books that I'm hoping to read or that I hope to read. There's just no way that I'm going to read all of those books anymore. I also talk about how I wanted to do a mini reading vlog for the Mary Oliver book where I took you guys outside and like went hiking. There's just no way that I'm going to be able to do that this month. I can't leave Lucy unattended for that long, so we won't be going on any hikes. I also talk about in this video how I'm really excited, or how I was really excited that at the end of this month I was going to be taking my mom to Morocco for a couple weeks, which has like a lot of significance for me, and so I was really looking forward to that trip, but I just don't know if we're still going to be going on it, or I don't know. If Lucy makes a miraculous recovery and seems like she is getting better way quicker than I expected, then maybe I will feel comfortable leaving her in someone's care. I just don't know. My priority is going to be making sure that she is taken care of, and if that means that we have to cancel or reschedule the trip, that's what we'll do. But if I don't end up going, I won't be reading the books that I mentioned that I was thinking about taking to Morocco. But there are books that I talk about in this TBR that I do still plan to read or that I'm going to try to read. So hopefully it's not like a completely irrelevant video, and hopefully it's still, fun enough for you guys to watch. I'm gonna stop babbling and let you get on with the video, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that some things have changed. We'll see what happens, but I just did want to still put out the video for people to watch. So enjoy. But
before I get into that, I just want to say congratulations to the winner of the giveaway. Today is actually the day before I am closing the entry, so I don't actually know who the winner is. I don't know who you are specifically, but by the time this video comes out, the winner will already have been chosen, and I'm sure that you will have already contacted me and we'll have chatted to figure out how to get you your prize. So congratulations. I cannot wait to hear what book you end up getting with your prize. And for everyone who participated, even if you didn't win, thank you so much for entering. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here, for subscribing. I'm sure in the future I'll be doing more giveaways, so keep your eye out, continue to enter, and fingers crossed you will win in the future. Another kind of random announcement update that I have is that at the end of August, at the end of the month, I'm going to be going to Morocco for 2 weeks. I'm taking my mom and we're going to be there for about 15 days. That will be at the end of August going into like the first week and a half of September. I don't know if if I've ever said this on this channel, but when I was in college, I went and studied abroad in Morocco. So Morocco has a very special place in my heart. My mom was actually supposed to visit me while I was in Morocco studying, but plans fell through, and so she was never able to come. So this is very special to the both of us. I'm really excited to be there with her, and I haven't been back to Morocco since I studied abroad. So yeah, I'm just excited to revisit. I'm definitely going to try to incorporate that trip into some reading vlog or something. But what that does mean though is that the filming and uploading schedule for the end of August into like the first half September is going to be a little wonky. I'm going to try to do as much pre-filming as I can before I leave for the trip. But for example, I'm not going to be able to film my August wrap up most likely until I get back, and I'm not getting back until like halfway through September. So just for you to know that the filming / uploading schedule towards the end of August and the first half of September is going to be a little wonky. But let's get to these books. I'm going to give the same spiel that I give for all of my TBR videos, which is that my TBR list is a soft hopefuls. They are never a concrete, and they're for sure going to be switching around. And this month, more than any other month before, my TBR list is very fluid. I have so many books that are on hold at the library that may or may not come in the next few weeks, that may or may not come in before I leave for my trip. So I'm really not sure what I'm going to be reading, but I'm going to just tell you what I'm hoping to choose from. Some of these I'm pretty sure I'll get to, and some of these I don't even have in hand because again they're on hold at the library. So basically just don't hold me to this list. I may get to like half or all or none of these. The first book that I have on my list is The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This is a book, as the title suggests, about the Underground Railroad in the antebellum South, but what is interesting about this premise is that while historically and in real world the Underground Railroad was like a metaphor, right? It wasn't actually a railroad, there were no trains. It was a series of smugglers and safe houses or safe points, but there was no actual train. But in this alternate historical fiction story, the Underground Railroad is an actual physical railroad. There's a train, there's tracks, there's conductors, and all of that. The main character is an enslaved woman named Cora who is trying to get to freedom through the Underground Railroad. And I have to admit that this book got, a lot of hype. I think a lot of people have talked about it really positively. I've heard pretty much only good things about it. It won a bunch of awards. But when I heard the premise, I wasn't that interested in it. I'm sure that it is going to be a great read, but for whatever reason, I didn't really feel pulled to pick it up. But I went to a secondhand bookstore and I saw this and I was kind of like, what the hell, I'll pick it up. In Whitehead's ingenious conception, the Underground Railroad is no mere metaphor. Engineers and conductors operate a secret network of tracks and tunnels beneath the southern soil. Cora and Caesar's first stop is South Carolina, in a city that initially seems a haven. The Underground Railroad is at once a kinetic adventure tale of one woman's ferocious will to escape the horrors of bondage and a shattering, powerful meditation on the history we all share. This is one that I am most likely going to read next month because I do have the physical copy. I'm not waiting on a library hold or anything like that, so this is most likely going to get read next month. The next book that I want to read, and will also most likely get to because I do already have a physical copy, is Sing Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward. I talked about Jesmyn Ward in one of my Black authors videos, and I had originally intended to just try reading some of her books in publication order, but again, I went to a used bookstore, the same one where I got The Underground Railroad, and I saw a copy of this, so I was like, whatever, I'll just pick this up instead. This won the National Book Award, a bunch of other awards, was a finalist for a bunch of other awards. This book is the story of several generations of a family living in Mississippi, and I think that it has like a gothic, magical realism or supernatural element to it. The main character is a young teenage, like 12 or 13-year-old biracial boy named Jojo. He lives with his grandparents and his mother who has some sort of addiction problem, and I don't really know what the story, like the plot is about, but I know it's about them. I know that there is that supernatural element I mentioned. There's a haunting or ghosts, I think. I've heard that this book talks about a bunch of things like racism, generational trauma, toxic family relationships, and the like. So I am ready for what sounds like could be a very painful time. One of the reviews on the back says, always clear-eyed, Ward knows history is a nightmare, but she insists all the same that we might yet awaken and sing. It almost sounds like it might be a mash-up of like Shuggie Bain and The Reformatory. This has nothing to do with the story, but I'm looking at Jesmyn Ward's photo on the back of the book, and she is stunning. A book that I would love to get to next month that I just talked about in my haul video is Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker. This is the author of Bat Eater and Other Names for Corazang, and it's another horror story, and I loved Bat Eater, so I really wanted to pick this up. This is, I think, her newest release, and it is about two hauntings that happen in the same house in Japan, but separated by hundreds of years. There's a man named Lee in 2006 and a female samurai named Sen in 1877, and they're experiencing weird supernatural happenings in the same house, but again, separated by hundreds of years. Won't linger on this too much, but again, I have the physical copy, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to get to this next month. Next book that I would love to get to next month is The Killing Spell by Shei Kaue. I talked about this in a bunch of videos. I can't remember which ones. I think one of my AAPI videos. But this is the debut novel of a Hawaiian author, and it is a fantasy thriller murder mystery. Kea struggles to keep her small clan afloat, scraping rent together through odd jobs and selling the Hawaiian language spells she crafts. Life is difficult enough, but the murder of Angelo Reyes, a prominent LA activist, turns her world upside down. Angela was killed by a death spell, something that could only be created in Hawaiian. So this book takes place in a version of our world in which there was a massive flood that unfortunately flooded and sank all of the Hawaiian islands. They are now underwater, so the remaining clans have moved to Los Angeles and have relocated there and are living there on some sort of treaty. One of the clan leaders is a young woman named Kea, and she is trying to keep her clan alive. She is doing odd jobs, and she is crafting these Hawaiian language-based spells that she sells. But one day someone is murdered using one of these Hawaiian language-based spells. So Kea is suspected of being the murderer, and so in order to clear her name, in order to make sure she can keep supporting her clan, she has to get to the bottom of this murder. There's a big mystery, figure out who did it, all that good stuff. So it sounds like to me that this could be a really fun, fast-paced kind of thriller that still has a lot to say about things about like the Hawaiian language or indigenous rights. So yes, hopefully I will get to this. I talked about this book also in my recent haul video, but next month I would love to read Red Bird by Mary Oliver. This is a poetry collection by the great, the wonderful, the beautiful Mary Oliver, and if I can manage it, if I can find time to do it, I would love to do a little reading vlog of Mary Oliver. Not something quite as long as the ones I've been doing, but I would love to just like take you outside, like go hiking, and maybe just read some of these full poems for you, or like excerpts of the poems. I'm not sure. I love her work so much, and they make me feel so many things, so I would love to just like create a little video incorporating her poems and being outside, like being out in nature, maybe while I am, I don't know, riding my horse or something. I can like do a voiceover, whatever it may be. Hopefully I can find time to do it because I love Mary Oliver. If you don't know who Mary Oliver is, she is an incredible poet and essayist who writes about nature, about the natural world, about her life and her relationship with creatures, with plants, and how central it is to her life and her existence to be closely and intimately observant of the world around her. And I just find so much comfort and insight into just like my own life and my own values by reading Mary Oliver's work. So because I love her so much, like I said, I would love to do like a dedicated video, even if it's a little short, to some of her poems. So we'll see if I manage to find time for that. The other issue is that to honor the spirit of Mary Oliver's work, I would love to do a lot of whatever vlog I do outside, but we have been having awful weather. It has either been heat advisories like up in the 3 digits, or we've had the fire in Canada, so it's been awful air quality. It's been advised that we just like don't go outside. We have had back-to-back thunderstorms and flooding, so it's been a little hard to imagine finding a good amount of time to go outside, but hopefully in the next month maybe it'll relax a bit and I'll be able to do that. If any of you watched my reading vlog from June, my queer reading vlog, I went on a book crawl and I saw in the like storefront window of one of the bookstores these 2 books about queerness in nature, and I really want to read them, so I put them on hold at the library and they are now in my hands. So next month I will be reading A Little Queer Natural History and Forest Euphoria. So this one, A Little Queer Natural History, this seems to list different animal and plant species that exhibit interesting like queer behaviors. We have like here we have ginger, we have like gulls. Now if you don't know me, I grew up attached to Animal Planet and like the Discovery Channel, Big Cat Diaries, Crocodile Hunters, oh god, what other ones were there? Meerkat Manor. Does this ring a bell for anybody? Because I'm just a big animal person. I love nature. I've always loved watching documentaries and things like that about different species, so this will be a lot of fun. And this one is written by Patricia, who is an indigenous woman, and it seems to me like this might have a bit more of like braiding sweetgrass vibes, and not just because Robin Wall Kimmerer is on the cover. A thrilling exploration of the natural world that challenges our expectations of what is normal, beautiful, and possible. In snakes, snails, and above all fungi, she saw her own developing identities as a queer, neurodivergent person reflected back to her, and in them too she found a personal path to the life of science. In Forest Euphoria, Kaishin shows us this making of a scientist and introduces readers to the queerness of all the life around us. Wide-ranging, richly observant, and full of surprises, Forest Euphoria will open your eyes and change how you look at the world. You know, June may be over, but it is Pride every day in this house, so these will be two fun little nonfiction reads. Next is yet another book that I just talked about in my hauls video, and that is The Names by Florence Knapp. I posted the books I hauled to my Instagram too, and a number of people had said that this was such a good book, so it has made me even more excited. This is the story of a mother and her son, and 3 different versions of their lives based on what she decides to name her son. So we have 3 potential names, and the book follows the 3 timelines, the 3 realities that could exist based on the name. Spanning 35 years, what follows are 3 alternate and alternating versions of their lives, shaped by Cora's last-minute choice of name. In richly layered prose, The Names explores the painful ripple effects of domestic abuse, the messy ties of family, and the possibilities for autonomy and healing. That sounds like a really cool concept and structure, and I, again, have not heard much about this book, but everyone who has had something to say has said it is very emotionally impactful. I'm going to talk about a bunch of books that I don't have yet. These are all the books that I have on hold at my library, so we'll see what ends up coming through. First, I have books, I think 6 and 7 of the Singing Hills cycle by Niveau. One is A Mouthful of Dust, and the other is A Long and Speaking Silence. If you don't know about the Singing Hills cycle, it's a series made up of a bunch of short little standalone novellas, but they are all connected by the same protagonist, Cleric Chi. They're a non-binary cleric that travels across this fantasy East Asian inspired land collecting different stories. They're usually accompanied by their companion, who is a magical speaking bird named Almost Brilliant. I've had a bit of a mixed experience with this series. I absolutely love The Empress of Salt and Fortune and Tiger Came Down the Mountain. I have those 2 books like back here, but I'm not going to pull them out. But yeah, I really enjoyed those books a lot. I've recommended them like multiple times on this channel. But some of the more recent books I thought were just fine. I didn't dislike any of them, but I thought that they were just okay. I think I gave them all like 3 or 3.5 stars, but none of them were as strong as I think 2 that I like are the first 2 books. So I hadn't rushed to pick up books 6 and 7, but I decided it is time. I would like to read them. And like I said, August is going to be a pretty busy month with all of the pre-filming and with traveling, so it'd be nice to have a couple of short novellas that I could either read as, you know, physical books, or I could just like pop them on as audiobooks while I'm on the plane or something. In A Mouthful of Dust, Cleric Chi and Almost Brilliant, I think, are investigating some sort of famine. Amid tales of dishes served to royalty and desserts made of dust, they discover the secrets of what happens when hunger stalks the land, what the powerful will do to hide their crimes. Trapped in the mansion of a sinister magistrate, Chi and Almost Brilliant must learn what happened in Baolin when the famine came to call, and they must do so quickly because the things in the shadows are only growing hungrier. The other book, A Long and Speaking Silence, is cool because that one is actually, I think, sort of Chi and Almost Brilliant's origin story, or it takes place when they were much earlier on in their career as a cleric and like trying to make a name for themselves, I think. On the banks of the Yale River, the town of Lutian gathers to celebrate the start of the rainy season, but the celebration is marred by the arrival of refugees from the sea. Cleric Chi, very recently still novice Chi, is also a stranger in Lutian. A moment of carelessness and bad luck leaves them waiting tables as they struggle to establish themselves as a real cleric. A cleric's job is to listen and record, but the stories emerging in Lutian are ugly and violent, as hard to predict as the river itself. With their hope companion, Almost Brilliant, by their side, Chi must help the refugees while also unraveling a mystery that may have roots in their own faraway home in the Abbey of Singing Hills. In the 7th entry of the award-winning Singing Hills series, we meet Chi and Almost Brilliant just beginning their journey together as Chi assumes their place on the road and in the world. So hopefully timing works out and I can get to those books, and I have my fingers crossed that these ones recapture the sparkle and magic of the other 2 books that I mentioned earlier in the series. The next book that I want to read is Blood is Another Word for Hunger, or Blood is Another Name for Hunger. I can't remember. It's one of those 2, and this is a novella by Rivers Solomon. I've actually never heard of this title before. I was looking into whether or not Rivers Solomon has more books that I can read, or if I should be saving Model Home for like my deathbed, and it turns out that they do have a couple of other titles, but it seems like they're either collaborations or short stories. But I did want to read this one. This is supposed to be like a dark fantasy short story, I think, and my guess is that it has something to do with vampires. I might be completely wrong. There might be no fantasy element and there may be absolutely no vampires, but that's my current guess. Anger is an energy. A young girl, a slave in the South, is presented with a moment where she can grasp for freedom, for change, for life. She grabs it with both hands, fiercely and intensely, and the spirit world is shaken. In River Solomon's astonishing, blood is another word for hunger. Alright, last two books I'm going to talk about are also on hold at the library, so I don't have them at the moment, but they are the first two books in the Saint of Steel series, I think it's called. It's by T. Kingfisher, and the first two books are Paladin's Grace and Paladin's Strength. This one I'm pretty sure is a fantasy romance series, and I've heard people say that the characters are really interesting and that T. Kingfisher does some things that are unusual for fantasy romance. For example, I'm pretty sure that both of the main characters, Stephen and Grace, I think are their names, are like middle-aged people. Stephen is a paladin who has lost his god and is kind of on the down and out, is kind of in the dumps. And the woman Grace is a perfumer, I believe, and something happens. There's either a murder or they get involved in some sort of shenanigans and they end up having to work together in some sort of way, and a romance blooms between the two of them. You know, I would just love to read more fantasy or just like more stories where middle-aged people get to be the protagonists, where they get to be cool, where they get to be sexy, and where they get to go on adventures and aren't just like mom auntie figures. So I am excited and looking forward to that. I tend to like to binge series, so if I like the first two books, I will probably almost immediately try to pick up the rest of the series. But again, I'll have to see what happens with my library holds. Now I want to talk about two books that I am considering taking to Morocco with me. While I'm in Morocco, I was thinking that I would love to read a book or two that was written by a Moroccan author and ideally is set in Morocco. I just think that that would be a cool immersive way to read. So I have two books that I'm considering and I put on hold at the library, but if you have any recommendations for books by Moroccan authors that you think that I might like, please let me know. The first one I'm considering is The Moor's Account by Layla Lalami. This is historical fiction, but it's sort of written as if it's the real life accounts of a person in history. This is a Pulitzer Prize finalist, and these are the imagined memoirs of the first Black explorer of America. In these pages, Layla Lalami brings us the invented memoirs of Mustafa El Zamori called Estebanico. The slave of a Spanish conquistador, Estebanico sails for the Americas with his master. Within a year, Estebanico is one of only 4 crew members to survive. So that's one option. I will say that I wasn't necessarily super drawn to the premise of the book, but I have heard good things about it, and someone recommended it to me on Instagram. I can't remember who, but I had mentioned that I was looking for books by Moroccan authors, and someone recommended it, and they have it at my library, so I put it on hold. But the other book I will admit I'm a little more excited for, and that is The Last Chapter. This is by Layla Abouziad, and this is a semi-autobiographical story. This book tells the story of Aisha, a young Moroccan woman, and her struggles to find an identity in the Morocco of the second half of the 20th century. Charting Aisha's path through adolescence and young adulthood up to the present, her story is told through a series of flashbacks, anecdotes, and glimpses of the past, all bound up with a strong, often strident, always compelling worldview that takes in Morocco, its politics, people and traditions, Islam, and marriage. This stimulating and revealing book adds a new perspective to Maghrebi women's writing and is an important addition to the growing body of Arab women's writing and translation. So I will admit that if I can only get one of these books to take to Morocco, I would rather it be The Last Chapter. It calls to me just a bit more. So those are the 15 books that I am hoping to get to in August, but just in case something doesn't work out or the library holds don't happen or something like that, I do have one book as a backup, and that is The Last Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. I also talked about this in my recent haul video, but this is the newest release from Fonda Lee, who is the author of the Greenbone Saga, one of my all-time favorite series. This is described, I think, as like a samurai space opera, and it follows Isako, who is a legendary swordswoman who would love to retire but is sort of dragged into a last great adventure. I have heard some mixed things about this book, so I am intrigued to read it because, like I said, the Greenbone Saga is one of my all-time favorite series, and I love those books so much. So I was really excited to get to this, but again, the reception seems to be a bit mixed. So obviously I want to read it for myself and develop my own opinion. There you have it. Those are the 15 books on my TBR and my one backup book for August. Again, it's going to be a bit of a crazy month, so I beg you for just a bit of grace if my filming / uploading schedule gets a bit wonky in the next month or month and a half, as I am preparing to travel and then traveling and then coming back from traveling and all of that. I will try my best to at least get a video out every week. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if you are planning to read any of these books, and definitely let me know if you have any recommendations recommendations for Moroccan authors that you think I should check out for my trip to Morocco. And again, congratulations to the giveaway winner, and thank you for everybody who entered. Appreciate all of you for being here. Happy reading, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. The Underground Railroad, why is that word so hard to say? Railroad. The Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad. You know, together we're glowing, gonna be golden. Up, up, up with our voices.